listening to Tough Tiger Talk Flash Report.
All right, shout out to the Tough Tiger Talk Nation. I am Big Q representing the fam. Appreciate y'all for being in this episode of Tough Tiger Talk. Please feel free to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and by all means, feel free to share the show on your social media feed. We in here. This has been a very eventful off season from LSU football. Firing Brian Kelly, hiring Lane Kiffin, the drama that involved getting Lane Kiffin in here from the Ole Miss team, old players from the team talking mess about Kiffin, recruiting of players, and it's just getting nasty. And we develop a new rivalry between Kiffin and Ole Miss when they play eventually, and it's just a lot of stuff and all that, and we still have a game to play, one remaining game to play, and we discovered who that is going to be. So shout out to you guys. Please feel free to hit the like button. Tough Tiger Talk is in the building. Here we go. LSU football has learned that its bowl destination where it's going at the end of the 2025 season, and they're going back to the Texas Bowl, right? Interim coach Frank will coach them in his final game. LSU's going back to the Texas Bowl for the second straight year. It was announced Sunday the Tigers will finish their season against the number 21st team in the nation, Houston Cougars, at 8:15 p.m. Central Time on December the 27th at NRG Stadium in Houston, Texas. A familiar place for the team. The game will be broadcast on ESPN. So a couple of days after Christmas, we'll see our Tigers, and a late one on Sunday. You know, they'll get an opportunity to battle there. It'll be the third trip to Texas Bowl in the past 5 years for LSU. The Tigers will play their last game under interim coach Frank Wilson, and they've also played in the Texas Bowl in 2021 under interim coach Brad Davis. LSU lost that game 42-20 to Kansas State with a depleted roster. Last season, LSU beat Baylor 44-31 in the Texas Bowl. It has made one other appearance in the Texas Bowl when it defeated Texas Tech back in 2016, 56-27, led by former Tulane coach Willie Fritz. Houston went 9-3 this season while playing in the Big 12. The Cougars got off to a 7-1 start this season, but they split their last 4 games. They still finished ranked in the top 25 of the college football playoff rankings. LSU 75 will try to finish a disappointing season with a win that started the year with the CFP aspirations after signing the number 1 transfer portal class in the country, but the Tigers fell well short of the expectations. Along with firing Brian Kelly in the midst of the 4th season, they have gone 2-2 under Coach Wilson with losses against Alabama and Oklahoma. Houston went 4-8 during Fritz's first season, but it has turned things around this year and has scored over 28 points a game and ranked 65th in the country, and it has allowed 22 points per game, which ranked 4th nationally. The losses against Texas Tech and West Virginia alone, as will TCU. It's unclear what the roster will look like. LSU wide receiver Killen Billiard and Jelani Watkins have decided to enter the transfer portal when it opens on January the 2nd, but there is no other opt-out or transfers at this moment. LSU's offensive coach is still in flux after the hiring of new coach Lane Kiffin. Wilson will coach through the bowl game, Kiffin said, but the future with the team is uncertain after that. Kiffin has brought in a new offensive staff, while LSU retained much of its defensive staff after the defensive coordinator Blake Baker passed on jobs at both Tulane and Memphis for a pricey deal. And of course, I don't think Coach Frank has a future under Lane Kiffin's his regime coming into this thing. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't think it's happened. So let's kind of pivot to the next thing. Lane Kiffin pulls off stunner to keep Blake Baker with an eye-opening new contract. He was still bored, and Lane wanted him, and they're spending a lot of money on Kiffin's staff, man. And it's put up a shut-up time soon as he touched down in 2026. I know that's, but with the kind of resources LSU is delving out, not only to Lane Kiffin, but all kind of money that's being paid out to these assistants. Have y'all paid attention to some of the money he's paying these guys he's bringing over? It's a lot of money going on, man. But let's get into this article here. And it's put up a shut-up time in a surprising twist. LSU retains Blake Baker. He will stay as being a coordinator. Blake has interviewed for several head coaching jobs and basically turned them down. He played for the Green Wave as a linebacker coach for 2000-2004 before getting to the coaching ranks, given that he seemingly had a chance to coach at his alma mater. The Tigers supporters were expecting Baker to be on the move, including myself. But now On3 has confirmed, and many other sources have confirmed since that Kiffin has retained Baker to stay on board as his defensive coordinator as he continues to round out his coaching staff in Baton Rouge. So What it does do is when you retain Blake Baker, what it does is keeps a lot of his staff in place. He came to Baton Rouge in 2021 as the linebackers coach before leaving to Missouri to be the defensive coordinator from 22-23. Returned in 2024 December when he received a contract of $2.5 million per year to serve as LSU's defensive coordinator. The deal made him the highest paid assistant coach in all of college football at the time. And according to Ross Dillinker, shout out to him, Baker's new contract is a 3-year deal worth more than $3 million annually. His new deal makes him among the top 3 highest paid assistant coaches in the country. He also comes with a performance benchmarks, which can trigger automatic extensions and salary increases. LSU's defense has seen a stark increase in production under Baker. The Tigers ranked 15 in scoring defense and 25th in total defense this past year. Baker played a huge role in bringing in star transfers like Mansour Delaney, AJ Halsey, as well as 5-star recruit DJ Pickett. He also helped LSU sign number 26, number 1 overall prospect, Mr. Lamar Brown, who's set to take the field for the Tigers next year. This is one of the really solid deals. So pairing these two men, a Blake Baker led defense along with a Lane Kiffin offense, scares the bejesus out of some of these people, just to be honest with you, man. It scares the living bejesus out of college football. And when all the smoke dies down about how Lane left Ole Miss, LSU, people are going to forget that when they're assembling a bit of an all-star team in the Bayou. Credit to LSU, they swinging for the fences, putting up a lot of money to make this happen. And man, it's just amazing what these guys are doing. But anyway, let's kind of bounce into some of the recruiting news, because this is something we talked about on the previous broadcast, but at the time wasn't official, but it's been since signed. Number 1 recruit, defensive tackle Lamar Brown, last Friday says, I'm going to LSU. This was a huge move. Lane Kiffin closed a busy early signing period with a bang Friday, officially securing the signature of defensive tackle Lamar Brown, which is ESPN's number 1 overall 2026 recruit. This is a massive deal for Tiger Nation. Brown, a 6'5", 280-pound defender from Irwinville, Louisiana, signed his letter of intent on the final day of the 3-day period. The program announced formally joining Kiffin and the Tigers as the program's first number 1 overall addition since Leonard Fournette back in 2014. That is crazy work. Committed to the program since July, Brown was not initially expected to sign this week following meetings between Brown's reps and the members of LSU staff Tuesday. While Brown remained verbally committed to the program, sources told ESPN that his camp harbored reservations over Kiffin to be completed his coaching staff. Uncertainty hanging over the futures of Tigers interim coach Frank Wilson and defensive coordinator Blake Baker marked a particularly concern for Brown, who attends high school on LSU's campus and developed a close relationship with the program's previous staff during his recruitment. As of Friday afternoon, the Tigers have not publicly announced plans for the program's defensive staff. We do have some news on that, by the way, we'll cover after this article. The cases for Wilson and Baker, a reported candidate for multiple head coaching positions, which is old. We know that he eventually does stay, which does help the signing. They got a commitment there. So with an impressive Tiger defensive class in 2026, Brown was not alone and is initially holding off on the signing period. Some things that need to be worked out. Obviously, LSU did that. They officially announced the signing of ESPN 300 defensive tackle Richard Anderson, who's 90 overall, on Thursday after questions swirled over his signature on the opening day signing period. Top 60 defensive lineman Deuce Gerald's who ranks number 39. Trenton Anderson ranks 60. Each pushed their signings to Friday and then signed. Henderson, amid late flip efforts from Auburn and Florida State, gave the Tigers his signature on Friday. Gerald's, also the number 2 defensive tackle in 2026, followed in afternoon minutes, and they made his signing. And then for Kiffin, who officially arrived Sunday, Brown's signature closes LSU's class of ESPN 300 edition and marks a strong finish to a hectic first week on the recruiting trail with the Tigers. And the uncertainty surrounding Brown and the program's top defensive pledges hung over the week from commitments for wide receiver like Braden Allen and Ole Miss pledges J.C. Anderson. Ryan Ballette, pass catcher Corey Barber, who's another ex-Rebel commit. Also, the Tigers on Wednesday also lost 5 commitments following Kiffin's arrival, headlined by Dylan Porter and Potter, and who flipped to Florida on Thursday. Now, Kiffin and company took some swings as well. Sources tell ESPN the Tigers made late efforts to flip a few people. Tight end Mark Bowman, 4-star South Carolina quarterback Landon Duckworth. LSU attempted to sway number 1 wide receiver Chris Henry Jr., who affirmed his pledge to Ohio State Friday. With Brown officially in the fold, the Tigers will close the early signing period with the nation's number 4 signing class so far. So there's still a lot of work to be done. That was a huge round of applause, and that's a great way to start, to be honest with you. Man, to LSU and say, hey, man, we need to get this stuff done. All right, let's move on to some of the staff news and talk about it. Shout out to Go 24/7. That covered some of the spill. Lane Kiffin falls in place after 1 week under him. As Lane Kiffin said, we'll have some answers sooner. LSU's coaching staff, he wasn't lying, with defensive coordinator Blake Baker electing to stay in Baton Rouge, and all of the pieces are now falling in place. The Tigers are retaining cornerbacks coach Corey Raymond, safeties coach Jake Olson, and edge coach Kevin Peebles, according to a report from CBS Sports by Max Zenitz. Now, the Tigers also expected to bring in a highly respected Elijah Robinson. They made that official as the defensive line coach, filling out all of the on-field positions for next season. This is absolutely tremendous news to get done within the first week of Kiffin arriving to LSU. Along the way, LSU has signed 14-man 2026 recruiting class that ranks 13th in the nation, but number 1 from an average player rating perspective. The Tigers brought in quality pieces, with the majority of the staff now settled on both offense and defense. The Purple and Gold could shift focus toward its current roster, and then the transfer portal window that will be here in less than a month. Running the staff on defense was always going to be the most interesting aspect of the new hire situation. Usually a new coach wants to bring in his own staffers, and you've certainly seen that from an offensive perspective, but from a defensive perspective, Kiffin probably quickly asked himself, why throw a wrench in a staff that's working for real? Coach Raymond Stan is great as a secondary, is arguably the brightest future of any position on the roster, with guys like DJ Pickett, PJ Woodland, and several other young pieces to build around. At safety, Deshaun Spears is a rising star in the program. Tamarcus Cooley has eligibility to return as a starter, with some other young pieces that are promising. Up front on the edge rush spot, Gabriel Rellafoot is going to be coming off injury, while Damian Shacklin showed some flashes in limited action as a freshman. Those two and Trenton Henderson are a good fit for Peoples, though more help is likely on the way via the transfer portal. That is going to be big to see how that works. All of the coaches returning helps LSU retain those pieces, many of whom signed because of the recruitment by those coaches and the development of this past year. But the big reported move they expect to take place is Robinson and what he can do with this interior defensive line stacked with talent. Incoming freshmen like Lamar Brown, Richard Anderson, Deuce Gerald steal the headlines, but Dominique McKinley, Ahmad Bro, Walter Mathis are potential returnees who all have talent and are still relatively young. McKinney and Robinson in particular have a strong connection, as Robinson was the primary reason McKinley would have signed with Texas A&M had he not gone to Syracuse after Jimbo Fisher's staff turned over. Maybe there's a route to keep McKinney in Baton Rouge to continue developing under Coach Robinson. Offensively, Kiffin brought offensive coordinator Charlie Weiss Jr. in, co-offensive coordinator and tight end coach Joe Cox, wide receiver coach George McDonald, inside receivers coach Sawyer Jordan. The two remaining vacancies that have not been filled are running back and offensive line, though it is reported that Kiffin has hired Eric Walford to assist with the offensive line duties, but it's not known if he'll be full-time O-line coach or not. Meanwhile, the momentum continues to brew for Kevin Smith, eventually joining Kiffin in Baton Rouge as the running backs coach. We'll keep an eye on that one. This staff has taken less than a week to come together and is shaping up to be one of the most impressive in the country. Now, these coaches will have a month to really delve into their roster, who they want to bring back, and make plans for what is going to be an aggressive transfer portal attack. So this is one of the fantastic things we talk about here on Tough Tiger Talk, with all the fantastic things that we've seen Coach Kiffin and LSU staff bring together. The reality of the situation is simply this, right? When the Ole Miss Rebels decided not to allow Lane Kiffin to coach in the college football playoffs, what it did was it freed him up so he could be able to come down right in the nick of time, get the transfers, the best ones he could get signed. We lost a few guys, but gained more than we lost in my estimation, be able to assemble his staff. Imagine him doing that as he is setting his team up to coach in the college football playoffs. That would not have happened. So it's a blessing in disguise. And really, Lane Kiffin hit the ground running as soon as the plane touched down. He assembled his staff, had a mean recruiting class within his time, and is well on his way to really doing some positive things in Death Valley. There's still a few things left to be done in terms of the team, like what happened at the quarterback position. Is he settled on what he got? There's a bunch of rumors circulating about players making transfers with him, Chambliss and all these other guys. Do he make the move? Who would be his quarterback? All that will be determined. The transfer portal will also just make a really, I ain't gonna say on a really risky pick right here to say that LSU once again is going to have the number one transfer portal, because they're going to be about the business of building that offensive line. They've had some fantastic talent from a wide receiver standpoint that they've added via the recruiting class of 2026. They're going to build that offensive line. You can see how the defense look, and they're going to continue to pound this thing and moving forward in a really good direction. So I'm very happy. I'm kind of, like I talked about, really, it was kind of against the Lane Kiffin thing, but now that it's here, what you going to do, right? Lane Kiffin hitting the ground running with all the resources, a lot of money being spent, and a lot of the Tough Tiger talk and the Tough Tiger Nation will want to see results sooner rather than later, right? Hit that like button. So with that being said, man, that's all I got for y'all on this episode of Tough Tiger Talk. Do me a service, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and by all means, feel free to share Tough Tiger Talk with the rest of the family members. I am Big Q, and I will see you next time. Much love, peace, and go Tigers.